are listening to Digital Pratik's podcast, where you're gonna learn digital marketing for free every single day.
I'll keep on learning every single day something new. I'll keep on applying that something new which I have learned in my life, and I'll keep on sharing that something new which I have learned and applied, and maybe I got some awesome results.
Alright, so welcome back, guys. Welcome to this episode where today I'm gonna be discussing something about how to actually spread your audience or how to actually grow your audience for your podcast listing. Now, most of the times people, when they hear podcast, they often are into that mentality of being on iTunes, Apple Podcasts. Alright, but they are missing out if they are only focusing on Apple devices, that is like Apple Podcasts. You are actually missing out on a huge chunk of audience when it comes to Android devices as well. So although most podcast consumption currently happens on iOS devices, no doubts in that, but there are far more audience on Android devices in use today. If you don't have a subscribe on Android kind of an option on your website, you are missing out a huge amounts of audience. Google Play Music is certainly a good place to be, but it's not the most thorough way to support Android users. So instead, here's how to make a one-click Android-friendly subscribe link for your podcast right now. What you can do is, it will hardly take a couple of minutes. So number one, there are 5 steps. All right, there are 5 basic steps. Step number 1 is visit subscribeonandroid.com. I'll put up the link in the show notes of this particular episode. So step number 1 is visit subscribeonandroid.com. Step number 2, either you can paste your podcast only RSS feed, or you can simply type in your name of the podcast and search. And third one is click subscribe on Android once you search for your podcast name. Step number 4 is, if you entered your podcast name, click on the appropriate search result, because you might have a couple of more podcasts. So for me, if I search for Digital Pratik, I might come up with 3 different podcasts. Step number 5, which is the last one, is copy the resulting URL or simply get the embed code from the bottom of the page. Now you can use this subscribe on Android URL to place a link or button on your website, shorten it with to Android with your domain, or use it anywhere else. You can use links. Now, how do you shorten? Simply use Google URL shorteners, or if you're using WordPress, you can use a plugin called Pretty Link, where you can have your domain name. That is, let's suppose I have this particular subscribe on Android link on one of my blogs, which is digitalmarketingforfree.com. So I have something like digitalmarketingforfree.com/Android. All right. So if I have that kind of a URL created inside Pretty Link, which will redirect the people to this subscribe on Android option for my podcast. So that is what you have as a URL for Android. All right, so you can simply tell people orally, verbally, that you can visit digitalmarketingforfree.com/Android, or obviously your website, that is xyz.com/Android. That would be way much simpler than to give them a long fuzzy kind of a URL. So that's the particular thing, and I actually learned this particular technique of making our podcast Android friendly from Daniel J. Lewis. All right, Daniel Lewis, who is like the man behind the Audacity to podcast. If you simply go to Apple Podcast or anywhere and search for the Audacity to podcast, I'll put up the link. I'll give a huge shout out, guys. I just love this particular podcast. I love Daniel Lewis. So if you are listening, Daniel, if you are listening to this particular podcast, I'm truly grateful to you, and thank you for all the value which you put out on your podcast particularly. So yes, definitely Daniel, me, and a lot of other people recommend this particular technique of subscribe on Android over a Google Play Music link, because Google hasn't done much with podcasts and it's still limited to only North America, but subscribeonandroid.com works everywhere. So that's it for this episode, guys. I'll once again mention the Audacity to podcast is the place where you want to be if you are serious about podcast marketing and building your own brand on podcast or voice as a content form. So I will see you in the next episode. Hope you find this valuable. If you did, do share it with your friends who are onto podcast or onto starting a podcast and building a brand on this. So I hope to see you in the next one. Till then, take care, bye-bye, and as always, guys, stay awesome, God bless, and subscribe. Hey, before you leave, let me just give you a completely 100% free definitive guide on blogging, which is a step-by-step video tutorial absolutely for free, which is available at digitalmarketingforfree.com/start a blog. All right. It's once again digitalmarketingforfree.com/start a blog. You can find the link in the show notes of this particular episode, and I look forward to see you in some review section, because I genuinely want to know what is this podcast helping you in, what all value you are getting from this particular podcast series. And also make sure while you put in a review on this particular episode, on this particular podcast, make sure you enter your podcast episodes or your podcast link as well, so that we guys can connect each other and empower each other and help the community grow along. With that being said, this is Digital Pratik, your podcast host, signing off. I'll see you later.